Terrible things are happening in Belarus. This is a record of one woman's experience during the 2010 elections, which were similarly fraudulent. But now, of course, in 2020, the numbers are much greater, as is the violence. I hope you'll listen to this and pass it on. We mustn't forget the people of Belarus. It's always the same scenario. Things keep going in circles. The people are a herd of antelopes. And the government is a lioness. The lioness picks out a victim from the herd and kills it. The rest keep chewing the cud, watching the lioness as she's picking out her next victim. Once she's bagged her prey, they all sigh with relief. It wasn't me, it wasn't me. I can go on living. Do you really think that the only thing holding all this together is fear? The police with their clubs? You're wrong. The victim and the executioner have an agreement. That's something left over from communist times. A silent pact, a contract, the great unspoken agreement. The people understand everything, but they keep quiet. And in exchange, they want better salaries, the ability to buy at least a used Audi, to go on holiday to Turkey. My interrogator was an educated man. He'd graduated from the same university as me. Why, he said, did you have to become one of my problems? I'm used to dealing with corrupt officials. You know where you are with them. But you... He was doing his job reluctantly. He was ashamed. But still, it didn't stop him. There are thousands of people like him. Officials, detectives, judges. Some do the beating, others spread lies in the press. Some arrest people, others pass sentence. You need so little to start up the Stalinist machine. We went for fun. It wasn't serious. We were laughing, singing. Some of us went with posters. Others had guitars. There was no fear. Our rights are clearly laid out in the Constitution. Freedom of assembly, protests, rallies, freedom of speech. There are laws. We're the first generation that's never been scared. Never been bullied, never been shot at. So what if they throw us in jail for 15 days? That's nothing. Something to write about in your blog. Oh, we took lots of pictures. We wanted to remember that day. We were wearing Christmas masks and those funny lit up bunny ears. People laugh at us, calling Minsk a communist capital, the last dictatorship in Europe. Yeah. Well, now I can at least be proud of the fact that we went out there. We hadn't been afraid. That's what's most important. The most important thing, we stood there, us and them, face to face. Must have been a strange sight. One side carrying posters, and the other was in full military regalia with shields and clubs. Were they really about to start beating us? Beating me? They were my contemporaries, my age. We laughed, teased them, tried to provoke them. Are you boys really about to fight the people? As the snow kept falling and falling, then suddenly there was an order. Disperse the crowds, hold ranks. I couldn't adjust to the reality, not at first. Disperse the crowds. For a moment, everything went totally silent. And then the pounding of shields, the rhythmic banging of shields. They moved on us, advancing in ranks, banging their clubs, coming and coming, coming. Oh. Later, the boys in my village told me that they teach them the worst that can happen is if when you start to see the demonstrators as human beings. They trained them like dogs. They'd missed the football match that day. They'd been kept locked up in lorries all day, under tarpaulin. They had to pee in plastic bags and condoms. So when they were finally released, they came out hungry and full of rage. Maybe deep down, they weren't such bad people, but they did the work of executioners. Oh, minor cogs in a big machine. They're not the ones who decide whether or not to beat us. They just do the beating. I should hate them, but I don't want to hate anyone. I'm not ready for that. Oh. Screaming, sobbing, people crying, they're beating me, they're beating me. Yeah, I saw them beat people. And you know, it looked like they were enjoying it, like it gave them pleasure. I'll always remember this. They took great pleasure in beating people. I was terrified. I had to shut my eyes for a few moments. In my white coat and white hat, I stood rooted to the spot, all in white. They say that in order to understand all this, you have to read Solzhenitsyn. When I was at school, I took out the Gulag archipelago from the library, but it seemed as distant from my reality as the Trojan Wars. What's the first thing that happens to you in jail? Well, they dump the contents of your bag onto a table. What does that feel like? Well, it's as though they're undressing you. And then they literally undress you. Take off your underwear, spread your legs, shoulder width, squat. What were they looking for in my anus? During interrogation, you have to write, I fully acknowledge my guilt. But what am I guilty of? What don't you understand? You participated in a mass riot. But it was a peaceful protest. Give us names. Sign this. Name names. They told me that no one would ever know, that they'd let me go home. I had to make a choice. I'm not signing anything. At night I'd cry. I used to live in a good, kind country, but it doesn't exist anymore, and it never will again. I ended up spending a month in jail. We all stank. There was nowhere for us to wash. Somebody had a tiny bottle of perfume, and we passed it around, sniffing it. For some reason, I kept remembering little things. A new dress I hadn't had a chance to wear. What did I learn? I learned that happiness can come from something as small as a bit of sugar or a piece of soap. In a cell intended for 5 people, it was 32 square meters. There were 17 of us. You had to learn to fit your entire life into 2 square meters. Oh, the air was stifling. Couldn't breathe. We couldn't get to sleep, so we sat up talking. For the first few days, we discussed politics. But after that, we only ever talked about love. This testimony is in Svetlana Alexievich's book, Second-Hand Time, where she describes in the final chapter what was happening in Belarus between the years of 2010 and 2012.